Welcome to the Matrix Unveiled.
Your feeble efforts amuse me, human.
Hello and welcome. This is Matrix Unveiled, Season 1, Episode 2, and the title, You're Free, Aren't You? And this is essentially an overview of what Matrix Unveiled is going to be teaching you, if you're brave enough to come with us on this journey. So, by way of introduction, I'd just like to remind you that we're not on a crusade here. We're not picking up vigilantes or revolutionaries here. More, we're trying to help mankind move up, move into a higher, freer thinking orbit. We are not here. The last thing we actually want is battles and frustrations and ill will. All we're about is teaching you what is really going on, and with that knowledge you can choose what to do. So with that said, we're aimed at the very few that want to know the truth. And can you handle the truth? Because honestly, most people can't. Most people would rather stay well away from the truth, turn over in their duvet of life and fall back to sleep. It is much easier that way. I know Matrix films were of a long time ago now, but they are pretty close to, this is red pill, blue pill time. Go back to sleep if you want, or come on a journey with us if you don't. I'm not going to enter into any arguments here. This is not a democracy. If you don't like it, don't listen, don't watch, because yes, we are recording this as a video as well as the podcast series. So, I'm here to tell you stuff that you don't want to hear. If you're brave enough to listen, that's great. If you're not, go away. This is going to be hard, and it's going to be hard going for many, many of you. The drop-off rate is going to be huge, but that's fine because we're only after the very few. I'm Paul the Star, publisher and managing editor at Self-Power Publications, and this is your free introduction to what the heck is going on in the Matrix Unveiled. There's a lot of content here, a huge amount. I really probably bitten off far more than I can chew, and we may yet even break this out into more than one episode. But let's see how we do. Like I say, this is going to be a culture shock to some of you. Well, we've done the intro, haven't we? So let's talk about getting started. Oops. I've had a look to try and find out who actually first said this, and I've not been able to find out. There's lots of people been attributed to this statement, but never a truer word. And that statement is, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. It certainly did me when I learnt this stuff many decades ago now. But having said that, you cannot become powerful or happy without first becoming free. And what I mean by that is what we want for our watchers, viewers, listeners, for the people that can take this on. We want you to become free, powerful, and happy. And you can't have one without the other. So if you're not free, this is an important thing here. You cannot become powerful or happy without first becoming free. And you are not free, even if you think you are. 99.999% of people that ever hear this, it is certain to be true. almost nobody is free. And I'm just going to outline why I'm saying that, why it's the truth, and can you handle that truth? What have I bitten off here? But I feel compelled to share this overview of the information that we're going to cover in Season 1 here of Matrix Unveiled. So consider this. Just going to close that up. Consider this. Professional value extractors. Do you have a wage or a salary or even claim benefits if you're in a country that has a welfare system? Doesn't matter whether you're earning a fortune and a beautiful annual salary or whether you're scraping by with a daily rate, or even if you're on benefits. Whatever. If you're getting any of those, then no matter how you delude yourself, you are a puppet. At least to some extent, somebody else is controlling you, regardless of how little or how much. You may have the best boss in the world, but at the end of the day, when they say jump, you say how high. You are controlled by somebody else, at the very least during the working hours. And for most people, especially if you've got, anything other than an entry-level job, then for most people, those working hours are every hour, really. So don't fool yourself. Professional value extractors can be employers, or often are your boss. It's their job to get as much out of you for as little as they can get away with. And again, don't ever make the mistake that I'm saying anything about party, politics, or any kind of politics. I am just saying how it is. I have no political views, as you will see. Does this sound a bit like you, though? But you say you're free. Now, I don't receive a wage, salary, or benefit. I am free of all professional value extractors. I don't have a boss. But if you have one, and you think you're free, you're deluded. You got a mortgage? A loan? Any kind of financing on any expensive item like a car? You got an overdraft? Your credit card's maxed out? That is a bad place to be. If you owe money, you have to pay it. And if you have to pay it, that means you're trapped. You're trapped probably with the professional value extractors. If you're lucky, you've got a form of income that you're trapped into earning to pay off this debt, this hideous noose around your neck called debt. This is tragic. You are unable to live the life that you were put here to live. You are unable to give the universe what you are here to give, what you are here to do, because you're trapped in this situation. And don't get me wrong, I too was trapped in that situation for many, many, many years. But you can't say you're free if you are in debt. I have no mortgages, loans, credit cards, overdraft, or debt of any kind. And my goodness, is that a great feeling. But I did for many years, so I know what it's like, and I know how trapped you can feel. Now, if I haven't upset you already, I'm just about to really upset you. Is your life dictated by your family, your friends, and your spouse? It's a tricky one. I know you love them, and you want to help them, and that isn't a bad thing. Of course it's not a bad thing. I'm not some kind of monster, but I am just saying that you owe it to yourself to have the time. The only thing that's equal in this place is the amount of time available in a day. And if all your time is given to bosses, to debt repayment, and to your family and social commitments, then what time have you got left to develop yourself, to become the person that you are supposed to become, and to find power, happiness and fulfillment in your life. Does that sound a bit like you? And yet you think you're free. I have friends and family that I spend a lot of time with, but I also have as much time as I want to work on my purpose, my life purpose and objectives. And having this freedom and exercising this power gives me much happiness and fulfillment, as I now spend this time helping others in the way that I'm here to do. You will be tempted to make judgments on this statement. Don't. Keep an open mind and understand that from where I'm in a different place from where you are. It is possible, without upsetting anyone, to live the life you are meant to live. Don't judge me. You're on the very opening salvo of Matrix Unveiled here. We're going to shock you more before we get to the end of it. Are you part of an organised religion? Whether you're active or lapsed, or whether you've had none or two. Depends which part of the world you're from, which religion you are, or whether, many places, no religion at all anymore. But, even so, it is likely that you have some kind of belief system, and that system is probably based on, if not active religion, faith or cult, then at least a cultural version of it. That you would have some kind of system that you don't understand. You've never sat down and worked it out, what the heck's going on and why you have to do stuff. But your actions are governed and determined by this belief system. And this is extremely detrimental to your freedom. Religion is a killer of freedom. Sound a bit like you? And yet you say you are free. Now I have a deep spiritual life and have been on my conscious journey of discovery from a very early age. I have discovered a lot. The truth will set you free. And that is the last thing that the con artists want, which is why they have almost entirely taken over religion, faiths and cults. There'll be a lot more talk about this in future episodes. Now, I mentioned this is Paul here speaking, Paul the Star from Self Power Publications. And I am presenting this material on behalf of Theo Nahunas and Tico Malanen. I am their spokesperson, and this is the very, very beginning of a very long journey of discovery that will shock you and then set you free. Should have maybe closed that up just to give it a little easier, but this is now on social contract. Freedom of choice. Do you think you've got freedom of choice? Do you? You don't. You think you do, but you don't. And if you do, to the extent that you do, the con artists have won again. Everyone is taught from birth that they have to observe the rules, whether they're cultural and society rules, legal rules, bureaucracy. And we never think, well, not beyond our teenage years perhaps, we don't think that, why? There are laws that inhibit just about everything we do, what we can put in our bodies, what we can do with our bodies, what we can do with our own property, even what we're allowed to think, and on and on. Did you ever sign up to this? Did you ever sign a social contract? Do you even agree with it? Perhaps you do. And I'm not saying it's all wrong. You can understand why these things were brought in, but there are much better alternatives than brute force. Yeah. 99% of the people that have started listening to this, if they haven't already turned off, will do so now, because I'm going to tell you that you're desperate for more rules, more laws with harsher punishment. It's crazy, but it's true. Just turn the telly on. All the news, there'd be people clamouring for, ain't it awful, won't somebody please think of the kids? People are happy to give away their freedom, and there are many reasons for it. They're conditioned from birth. There are psychological reasons, very deep-rooted psychological reasons. I found this many years ago working for an employer. I worked my butt off, as did everybody else. And we never felt that we got what we deserved. Of course we didn't, of course not. We're professional value extractors. But we didn't know that then. But we didn't revolt, and we didn't, because people don't mind being unfairly treated, as long as everyone is unfairly treated. This equality is crazy. But it works. It's so much easier for people to abdicate responsibility. Unbelievably, most people would rather give away all their freedoms than take on the job of being responsible for their own actions and taking the consequences for them. Sound a bit like you? Yet you think you're free. I am not a revolutionary, anarchist, but I am a self-leader. I decide what I will and won't do, and accept whatever the consequences may be. I accept full responsibility for my life and my actions. But don't think I am this. I am not. I am compassionate, peaceful, and I've learned to have few requirements to live a blissfully happy, powerful, free life. Officialdom, state, and patriotism. What are we going to say about that? Are you a patriot, willing to go off and die for your country? Why? You will be dying for platitudes. You will not know the real reasons that con artists in power are really having another war, but you can be pretty sure it's more economic than anything about morals and goodness. But surely you must believe in a democratic government. Why? All you're doing is choosing which group of expletive will be taken away your individual powers next. In fact, do you even have the slightest knowledge of how your government really works? Most people haven't got a clue as to how government works. Sound a bit like you? And yet you say you're free. Are you the sort of person that criticises those of us, the majority, that refuse to vote? That by not being bothered to vote, they lose their right to an opinion? Grow up. These people are showing how totally sucked into the charade they have become. And it's interesting to me that the majority don't vote, and yet we are governed by the votes of the suckers that do. Do the leaders seek to change this situation and devise ways that the populace really want? Surprisingly not. I wonder why. But, although I sound it, and remember I'm speaking on behalf of Theo and Tico here, but don't think that I'm angry about this. Tico's the main author, actually, Tico Malanen. He's also known as Vlad the Unveiler, which is quite clever, really, isn't it, when you think? Matrix Unveiled, Vlad the Unveiler. I thought it was clever. But don't suppose he's angry about this. You won't understand until much further on in your studies. But these things aren't a problem to those of us that are free and powerful and happy. Involuntary contributions. Most people willingly hand over the majority, or at least 50% of what they earn in direct and increasingly hidden or indirect taxation. The money taken is all but unaccounted for. Did you ever get a detailed invoice or receipt from your government explaining where the money goes to? Do the people spending your unaccounted for money look like they're doing okay? Do they look like they work as hard as you? But I wouldn't be surprised if they've got more benefits than you, though. Does this sound a bit like you? Are you happy to pay the state? Because you're doing your bit? Well, that's fine. But you're still forced to do it. In much the same way as a protection racket extorts money from hard-working people. And there are better alternatives to this system. But then the middlemen, these people, they wouldn't be doing so well, would they? So, surprise, surprise, these involuntary contributions are set to stay. Content manipulators. Do you have a favourite news outlet or buy a daily paper, if anyone still does? You know, of course, that this is all a version of events through a particular filter, and that 99% of these outlets, media people, are there to make money. And the other bit, the very small minority, funded by the state probably, or, of course, from volunteers, they appeal often to the lowest common denominator in order to get their funding. And I watch with interest as the already diluted BBC is destroyed. There is an all-out war on the BBC in Great Britain at the moment, and I predict within the next 5 years it will be unrecognisable. But I've no axe to grind. I don't live in the UK. It's just an observation of the demise of one of the things that used to make Britain great. But try not to make judgments about me. You are not at the same level of understanding as I am yet. And I do sound condescending, and I make no apology. Sound a bit like you? The world according to your favourite news outlet? Well, it saves you having to think. Saves you having to come up with an opinion when you're down the boozer, or talking to your workmates or whatever. You just spout out what you heard on a telly or read in a paper. The truth is, you are almost never in a position to have an informed opinion about anything. You will never have the facts. And that is not necessarily not necessarily an accident. So anyway, do you recognise any of this? What do you think? Don't just be rude to me, even though you think I've been rude to you. If this doesn't offend you, at least in some regard, you really are an exceptional and enlightened, happy, powerful, and free person. And if you can't see above your own resentment of what I've said, simple unsubscribe and thank you from the bottom of my heart for trying this out. Does anything resonate with you? If so, let us know. If anything hits home, get on Facebook and like and follow our page at facebook.com/selfpowerfoundation and ask to join our closed group if you want. Let's wrap up then. This has been short, sharp, to the point. I don't mean to upset you, but like I've said, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Just about every facet of your life is keeping you trapped, even though you may have thought you were free. Listen again, and then think about whether you want to listen to any more. If you do, make sure to subscribe to the podcast Matrix Unveiled, if you think you're hard enough. Oh, please. Do comment at the facebook.com Self-Power Foundation page. We look forward to what you got to say. And I really mean that. I know the guys that wrote this have got some grave reservations of putting their head above the parapet. They are happy, powerful and free. And they've got nothing to gain by teaching you this stuff, apart from getting a load of hate mail, no doubt. But there will be one or two that this resonates with, and this, my friends, is for those one or two. Which pill are you going for? See you next time, and see you at facebook.com Self-Power Foundation. Thanks, really. Even if it's the last time you ever listen to one of our podcasts, thanks for giving us this opportunity to speak with you.